So remember that long-ass 40 minutes video I did on Polygon's long-ass article about toxic men? You might recall that the article ends like this.
If you'd like to comment on this article, you can contact us via our email form or on Facebook, Twitter, and any other social media outlets. We will publish the best comments in a follow-up article.
Turns out they actually did have a follow-up article, and unlike the last one, this is not as long, and it's a roller coaster ride between cringe and hilarity. So when the journalists at Polygon asked quote-unquote experts to write the article for them, now they are asking their readers. Guys, my next video will be reading your comments verbatim with zero response for at least 10 minutes. Easy content and ad revenue there. Maybe next time I'll ask my patrons to just make the videos for me while I sit my ass playing video games or something. Nah, just kidding. Incidentally, huge thanks to all of my brand new patrons Jacob, Prefabulated Amulite, Davarius, Mysterioso, and Senpai for the pledges on Patreon. You are fantastic. Since this article is a follow-up article from the last one, you can check out my previous video linked down below. But the content of this article is very self-contained that I don't think you need to worry too much on seeing the other one, so let's get to it.
Last week, we published an article that sought to explain the proliferation of toxicity in gaming spaces, most especially from angry men. The article was heavily shared on social media and through other outlets.
Mostly because it's a garbage article. Seriously, I only shared one excerpt from the article on Twitter and for some reason it has 4.8 thousand likes and 1.8 thousand retweets. What are you guys doing?
Here's a selection of responses emailed to us by some of our readers, expanding on a piece, offering personal experiences, and giving cogent criticisms. We also received a number of emails that were critical of the piece's existence, a point of view that is also prevalent in toxic social media spheres and online spaces.
The emails that Polygon covered here are a mixed bag. Some are quite cringy and awkward, some are actually quite hilarious and critical to the piece. Here's Anna delivering his letter. The writer expresses that he disagrees with a lot of things within the article, and the writers kept overly stereotyping men. This is perhaps one of the few emails that Polygon included that directly disagree with the topic at hand, but let's carry on. This section talks about how the internet is a very scary place.
I am a queer person of color who is a gamer and a lover of pop/nerd culture. Twitter and YouTube have become scary places for me. I actively avoid hateful videos and hateful comments, but it seems like some people are actively seeking videos or tweets to hate on.
Well, I don't blame you. There are hateful things on Twitter and YouTube. I think avoiding them is good for your sanity. But how scary these comments are is something that I do want to know.
It's so frightening for me to see hateful comments on YouTube videos where they talk about feminism or misogyny in gaming culture and in culture at large, but articles like this give me hope that people like me who think that being politically correct is only nice and respectful exists in the perhaps too silent majority.
Okay, well, first of all, I don't see your definition of being hateful in this paragraph, considering that I am one of those YouTubers that make videos that talk about feminism or misogyny in gaming culture, and in popular culture at large. And second, your reasoning of why this article gives you hope is pretty concerning and incredibly nonsensical. Being politically correct is really not the same as being polite, because being politically correct only protects the minority, while the majority, well, people can go as far as to say that they deserve to be chopped off and fed to the lions. But that's the dark side of political correctness for you. The minority should be protected, while nuking the majority is perfectly acceptable. The next section is quite literally Oppression Olympics.
Why is there a total lack of mention of the hate and harassment of LGBT players and industry people?
Oh god, Polygon, what have you done?
In my experience, both as a gamer and former journalist, the online racism, misogyny, and homo/transphobia all go hand in hand. I quickly gave up playing online shooters long ago because it's just one long stream of hate.
Jesus, Polygon, you're only making an article talking about the hateful men? Why don't you make an article talking about how straight people are the devil too?
The same people invade any LGBT group or friend they can to make the same type of anti-inclusion arguments they use against the women and minorities that you highlight in this article. Given that I know that many of the people you included could have easily and expertly talked about this, it just seems to be a surprising and weird exclusion.
Oh, Polygon readers, if you thought their journalists are whiny, you haven't seen anything yet. The next one is lack of sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship is one of the biggest things missing in games, and I believe the lack of it is a huge reason such toxicity exists.
Now, this is a comment that I totally agree with. A lot of the times, people who won in online matches are the ones who shouted the least. That or they muted both their voice chat and text entirely and just focus on the game. The reader does elaborate on this issue and mention that the sexism, racism, or belligerent remarks are just merely symptoms to a deeper rooted cause, or that they're just quick and easy tools for people to be a jackass and piss other people off on the internet. In other words, get good. The next one is how everyone has responsibility.
Thank you for the wonderful read. I am a male gamer and game developer. Maybe I'm a bit naive, but I barely knew this was an issue until Gamergate really hit my Twitter feed.
I'm not even gonna entertain what Gamergate is. I've done it countless times already. Can you just stop? Just stop.
At the time, I was new to game development and the tech industry in general, and every hateful thing went against the moral structure I grew up with. At one point, I asked one of my friends to stop calling me a gamer because I hated what my fellow gamers were doing and saying to others.
Ah, so you're one of those people who listen and believe the gamers are dead articles. You believe them so much you tell people that you don't want to be identified as a gamer anymore because you hated what your fellow gamers were doing and saying to others. And by that, I mean criticizing game journalists and game developers for being unethical. Oh, sorry, I mean harassing them because that's the Gamergate media narrative, right? Driving women out of gaming.
I helped organize a local comic convention, and I've used my role to help speak up about this kind of toxicity in our community. We have put into place a strict anti-bullying policy that extends not only the convention itself, but in the online sphere surrounding the event, and its satellite events too.
Strict anti-bullying policy? Well, someone watched Yuri.
I feel like it is everyone's responsibility to speak out against this kind of hatred. Articles like this do a lot to shed light on the issue.
I disagree, reader. That article barely spreads many forms of misinformation. There are so many it took me 40 minutes to clear it up. The next one is about accompanying images.
I just wanted to say that the Gaming's Toxic Man Explained was absolutely fantastic on every level. It step-by-step broke down each aspect that has contributed to this phenomenon and its wider links to society and what we can do about it.
Nope, it's an article written by experts to strand the narrative that is built on lies and misinformation. Then again, you're a Polygon reader, so I expect nothing less.
It also crystallized my own research and opinions on these topics as a creative arts professional, and as a woman. It was great to be introduced to the different speakers as well, and I have so much respect for the work they are doing in spite of the terrible abuse they suffered.
Yeah, these professionals are good at spreading lies and misinformation. Trusting them should be the last thing that you do. The next one is about fever dreams?
My generation fed on cyberpunk and 80s fever dreams of nerds being destined to inherit the earth. As the first pioneers of the digital frontier, we concluded that the internet didn't need any social rules. We honestly believed that by removing the physical aspect of human interaction, we would be judged by our minds and our wit, and not our appearances. It would lead to an egalitarian utopia.
For someone who grew up in cyberpunk, you are oddly idealistic, considering that pretty much most cyberpunk fictions are anything but idealistic.
Except when that didn't happen, we felt like losers. So instead of getting up and turning off the game like we claimed we were going to do, we simply reversed the rules so that we could feel like winners. We brought the aggression, the toxic masculinity, the judgment, all of it.
In other words, people being angry on the internet are a bunch of cyberpunk fans recreating their idealistic vision of the cyberpunk utopia. You do realize that you made a bunch of nerds on the internet to sound like absolute freaking badasses. It's like they're the protagonists of .hack or something. The next one is very strong views.
Great article and loved reading it, but I fundamentally believe that by not allowing comments on the article, you are shutting down avenues of discussion. There are some very strong views in that article that people will agree and disagree with, and limiting responses to only email and not a discussion forum is disappointing.
Whoever you are, God bless you. You are the hero that we need.
Would there be toxic men in the responses? Yes, but there will also be people who want to share thoughts and perspectives. Some of you will agree with, and some of you will not.
Jesus Christ, Polygon, I know that you love to get a lot of hate from everyone on the internet, but at least you kept your masochistic fetishes to yourself.
It strikes me as cowardly that you did not open the article for that kind of feedback or discussion, as if you do not wish to have that kind of discussion, as if there is no other perspective other than that which you have presented, and I am disappointed.
Thank you, random person on the internet. God bless you. You have made this video brighter and brighter in tone. The next one is a woman who deserves respect.
I am a woman who has been gaming since I was 4 years old. If things are going to change, then we need gaming publishers on board. We need more people in the business who are willing to cater towards women and people of color. We need more developers taking reports on toxic behaviors in multiplayer games more seriously.
Well, you already have them, at least on the Western front, and that's one of the reasons why Western game publishers are slowly losing people's respects.
They need to finally acknowledge that men are not the only ones who buy these games, and frankly
Whoa, slow down. Nobody's saying that only men buy video games, they're just saying that the number of women who buy them are very small. And they are small. They are.
And I believe the first step towards that is getting them to understand that we're not taking their games away, or trying to destroy their platform.
I agree, and one of the best ways of getting people to understand that you're not taking their games away is to stop talking that these games are the devil, and most importantly, actually stop taking these games away. The next one is better direction.
I've intentionally distanced myself from any pro-Gamergate ideologies. The vast majority of their viewpoints and actions sicken me as a male gamer.
I agree. It does sicken me that they demand more ethical standards in gaming journalism. Oh, sorry, I mean driving women out of gaming.
But I found myself also repelled by people like Anita Sarkeesian, who has made several claims and actions I don't agree with personally. I still count myself on her side of the moral debate versus the toxic voices of Gamergate, but always counted her flaws over her attributes.
Well, at least you acknowledge that she's not perfect.
With your piece matching her with so many other voices, it's hard not to see that her attributes are far more valuable. It has dawned on me that I should really reevaluate how I look at the dialogue about the game industry and representation. Sarkeesian and many others are pushing the discussion into a better direction, warts and all.
By spreading misinformation and lies about the video game industry. The next one is nascent feminism. The reader just felt shameful to Anita because he's part of the problem or something, I don't know how. He then says that Anita has made him a better person. I need you to define me what constitutes a better person. Next one is about learning empathy.
An issue that further complicates the discussion is the ability to learn empathy. People in a minority when relating to pop culture, women, people of color, are forced to develop empathy in order to experience the culture.
I'm sorry, what?
An issue that further complicates the discussion is the ability to learn empathy. People in a minority when relating to pop culture, women, people of color, are forced to develop empathy in order to experience the culture.
In other words, minorities are forced to develop empathy to relate to the majorities. Wow. I have never seen an opinion that is this bigoted. That is the most sexist, racist, homophobic, transphobic, and just all-around bigoted opinion that I have ever seen in my entire life. You are writing this on the assumption that minorities cannot relate to majorities, or that empathy is something that minorities can only give towards themselves. The only thing that I can say is this. No, seriously, that's not my point. The only reason that you think that minorities can only empathize with other minorities and not to force themselves to relate to the majorities is that you're a sociopath who absolutely needs psychological help.
Minorities learn to empathize with straight white male characters from as early as childhood in order to experience most children books, let alone to experience the majority of movies, TV shows, teen to adult books, and video games.
Wow. You have a severely damaged and frankly incredibly dangerous misunderstanding of how empathy works. Last time I checked, the empathy of normal human beings transcends species, which means that they can also be empathetic to anything other than human beings. For example, animals, like dogs or cats or birds, etc. So if human beings can be empathetic to animals, why can't they be empathetic to other human beings with a different race, gender, or sexual orientation? The only reason why you can't feel empathy to other human beings is if you are a sociopath. Am I sensing a serial killer in the making here?
Then, as culture shifts and more central characters are minorities, audience minorities can empathize since they're not only identify with the characters, but have learned how to identify with any character.
Oh my god, I have never seen a view this bigoted in such a raw form. Minorities have to learn empathy, instead of empathy being one of human beings' natural trait. Jesus freaking Christ.
Straight white men, on the other hand, have not had the extensive practice of empathy through pop culture, as they've never had to develop the skill in order to enjoy their favorite media.
Straight white men need to develop skills of empathy. Wow. Your view that straight white men are a bunch of sociopaths only highlight how sociopathic you are. You are a horrible human being and you should be institutionalized.
This leads to childish behavior. This is not to excuse the behavior of not demonstrating compassion, empathy, or basic human respect. Rather, it's to acknowledge that these toxic gamers lack a fundamental skill. Truly, the only way to develop it as much is to practice, which ultimately predicts the outcome of any perceived culture war.
I think the person in the room who should take that advice is you. The next one is about platform to speak.
This article was timely for me as I have been watching my husband contend with toxic gamers in his Discord, which has become suddenly and unexpectedly popular recently.
You do realize that Discord doesn't just connect you to random strangers. You actually have to accept their friend invitation, or actually join a group that consists of random strangers. The only person who is in fault for interacting with toxic gamers in Discord is your husband.
This article gave me a way to prompt a long discussion around things that I have been concerned about, but was not sure how to articulate or explain. How the structure of gaming communities can allow or restrict toxicity, how women and people of color are treated differently than men and white folks, how moderation policies can expose or protect them to harm, and what responsibility you have and give people a platform to speak.
I personally think that this article is a horrendously written pile of garbage, but carry on. The next one is about English teacher?
Soraya Sameli spoke about young men who are high school students who feel as if they are on the receiving end of oppression. As a high school English teacher, this statement really spoke to me, as I see students who feel this way daily.
So, young boys in high school feel that they're being oppressed daily? Okay.
I completely agree that it is a failure of our education system to explain why sexism is an institutional systemic problem, and have attempted to teach this in my own classes.
At least we agree that the education system sucked. We just have different methods in solving it.
However, there is a sense that the administration of my school, and most likely schools throughout the country, are more concerned with maintaining a fragile status quo and keeping everyone comfortable, rather than helping raise students who are aware and compassionate citizens.
That, or they don't want to feed high school students BS. But then again, high school is all about feeding BS, so I'm actually shocked that they didn't.
I know that there are many teachers who are simply afraid to bring up issues concerning gender identity, sexuality, and/or race. If a parent complains about a teacher showing political ideology, it can mean disciplinary action or job loss.
Yes, because students are there to learn about more important things than your own view of gender identity, sexuality, and/or race.
Even though I've taught in my own class that gender is a social construct, that feminism means equality for all, that people who exist in the intersection of marginalized communities are targeted more often by unfair laws and popular sentiment, I still don't push as far as I would like in fear of pushback.
And now I see why your students and their parents are complaining. The final one is about tech spaces.
In regards to your article on gaming's toxic men, I loved it. I did, however, disagree with Bridget Blodgett's notion on where are nerds getting that they're cultural losers. The fact that Silicon Valley and other tech spaces are filled with nerds doesn't negate how the general public perceives them.
Okay, I'm listening.
Just a few years ago when I was in college, in one of my classes, I mentioned that I played esports, fighting games in particular, and I was laughed at by one of the classmates. While I was in another school recruiting and was looking for the computer science lunch, I got direction from one young lady and she said they hang out and play games in that room, but I don't go in there because they don't bathe.
Ouch! Burn! So there's your response article from the last one. Not as long, not as tedious, but goddamn, it was one hell of a roller coaster. How can Polygon readers give out more interesting garbage than their writers? I think I agree with one of the commenters that they should just open their comment section just so that I can make fun of them. It would be more entertaining than reading through this pile of garbage, which is about as entertaining as being a thought criminal in Room 101.